Hey there, it's another beautiful day. Let's watch some stuff.
Some people do stupid things. Don't do stupid things. You are about to hear my opinion. Do your own research.
These here are sod houses. They're just made of mud and straw, and it's what a lot of pioneers used to live in. This is our history as a country, as a bunch of cowboys and Indians and frontiersmen, and also huge stone buildings. Weird, whenever you see an old Western movie with a saloon, you never see the massive granite palace right next to it. And yet these massive granite palaces, we're told, have been here. Presumably put up by the cowboy and Indian people. A sod house, motherfucker. So it's like they live in sod houses, but they work in palaces. Some of them live in palaces, most of them live in sod houses. I think what we're dealing with here is a post-apocalyptic reality with fake history books that have completely fictional characters like Wild Bill and Paul Bunyan and George Washington. I think these are all essentially fictional characters to sell a narrative of frontiersmen who just were able to throw up stone buildings very, very quickly, but also sod houses. The sod houses are a real thing. Stone buildings are also a real thing. Our history is complete nonsense. It's nonsensical. You can't tell me horse and buggy people built these buildings when this is what horse and buggy people were also living in. No running water, no electricity, stone palaces, or sod hut. Make up your mind, it can't be both. But I personally think it is both. The explanation is that the old buildings are here, the new sod buildings are recent, and that almost everything is a fake narrative. That Hollywood and the public education just force down your throat until you accept that this is the past. But it's not. I think we come from much greater roots, and I can't wait to keep revealing the real history of our world.
It really is so mind-boggling to think about the fact that those two different, very, very different types of structures were built around the same time by the same people, basically. And make it make sense, because I have more questions than answers, and I'm sure a lot of people do, but it doesn't make sense. There has to be some other explanation.
They've already built the most powerful machine in human history, and now they want to build something even bigger. CERN just dropped blueprints for a new atom smasher, one that makes the Large Hadron Collider look like a toy. The Future Circular Collider, 91 kilometers wide, twice the size of Washington, D.C., deeper than most nuclear bunkers. A machine so powerful, it could recreate conditions not seen since the moments after the Big Bang. Phase 1 will push precision experiments to their limit. Phase 2 is different. It's designed to reach energy levels we've never controlled, colliding particles with enough force to pierce into physical domains we know almost nothing about. CERN scientists call it an opportunity to open doors to unknown physics, but the risks aren't theoretical. Past experiments have already triggered unexplained particle bursts, magnetic shifts, and data spikes that defy current models. This new collider would run beneath cities, near seismic fault lines, and under one of Europe's largest freshwater lakes. Once activated, it would generate magnetic fields millions of times stronger than Earth's. The technology, the power, the scale, none of it has precedent. There's no clear safety margin. No way to fully simulate what happens when matter is smashed this hard, this deep, for this long. And once the switch is flipped, it can't be undone.
The sheer ingenuity of humans in our present state is just, it's incredible. It really is. Nothing is good enough. We have to go farther and bigger and better and do more and learn more things and create new stuff. But at the same time, there are scary things that happen when that stuff gets done, like what they say happens the last time the other CERN was run, right? They say that's when everything ended, and we're all kind of in a fugue state right now, just, waiting for the blink to stop in our brains, right? After you pass. But what are they going to find? I mean, they already found the God particle. What's next? Oh gosh, what's next?
Let's talk about space reentry protocols, because what happened with Blue Origin's historic all-female flight doesn't match reality. When NASA astronauts return to Earth, they sit in that capsule for hours. Why? Because the hatch is externally sealed and pressurized. Ground crews run safety checks for toxic fumes, radiation, and structural integrity. Nobody unbuckles mid-plummet at 700 miles per hour to casually pop the door open from the inside. That's not physics. That's suicide. Yet here's Blue Or capsule, Live footage shows the hatch cracking open from within before Bezos even grabs his shiny little key. A crew member panics, slams it shut like they're hiding a secret. Meanwhile, Bezos, still sweating from his viral faceplant fail, strolls up to pretend he's unlocking it. NASA's protocol, strict external control. Blue Origin's version, a reality show stunt. If that hatch wasn't sealed during re-entry, where's the explosive decompression? The emergency alarms? Either Bezos invented new laws of physics, or this was a staged spectacle to distract from his rocket crash proposal fiasco. Why push a female empowerment narrative while breaking basic space safety rules? The answer's written in the loopholes. You tell me, Hollywood magic or a $200 million lie?
That's the last one. I promise. I'm not going to spend another second on this stupid publicity stunt. I don't think that it was as big of a deal as it's being made out to be, and I don't think that there was proper protocol followed, and I think it's incredibly suspicious that they just stood up and opened the door. There was no exit protocol or any of that stuff. So, that being said,
have y'all been to space?
I promise. That's the last one.
A black site is a secret facility usually housed on a foreign military base, right? I'm not allowed to say any of the countries, even though they've all been reported on in the media. The CIA has never admitted to the existence of black sites. And so I can't confirm their locations, but I can say Google it and the locations.
Yeah.
So many of these black sites, the presidents and prime ministers of the countries that they were in had no idea that they were there.
Really?
These were secret, unwritten handshake agreements between the director of the CIA and the director of that country's intelligence service. So in many cases, even the ministers of defense didn't know that these secret CIA torture facilities were on their military bases in their countries.
Plausible deniability. If they don't know it's there, then they can't be held responsible for what is going on there. And once what is going on there is found out, they don't know who actually is making that happen. And that makes me think of that $20 billion that went to Citibank at the end of Biden's term. Perhaps there's some funneling there. I mean, there's funneling everywhere, but I did find a really cool series that we're going to start on, not Wednesday. I won't be here on Wednesday. Sorry, there won't be an episode on Wednesday. But on Friday, I found a really cool series that talks about black sites and the things that they did. I'm assuming. I listened to the first 30 seconds of the first part, and I was just like, yeah, that's happening. So we're going to check that out starting on Friday.
I got stuff on Saturn you don't have. Somebody is there. Saturn is inhabited.
But the surface is not solid. It's gas.
First of all, no, you've been told that. You don't know that. Very impressive scientist. He began to explain to me stuff about Saturn that blew my mind. My first question was, why the rings? Some of them have said the rings are like a dish, like a television dish for deep space communication. So when Saturn moves around, the rings are around it. It's like a dish. And there's the planet in between, so it looks like an eye.
Is that why they have the all-seeing eye?
That's what some of the best physicists and scientists and mythologists who work together have been saying for a long time. Saturn is very important in religion. The Jewish god today in Judaism is the planet Saturn. The Jews don't realize it, but Saturn is the god of Judaism today. In the ancient Phoenician language, the planet Saturn was referred to as Shabbat. So if you're going to worship Saturn and he's Shabbat, then you do it on a day you call Sabbath. Sabbath is Shabbat. So the Jews worship Shabbat on the Sabbath. And that's why they go to the synagogue and have their holy day on Saturn's day or Saturday.
I'm pretty sure that was edited. There were some clips thrown in there that were more recent, and it didn't look right, but they shouldn't have been there, and I think that was edited. Either way, it doesn't change the message. We talked about Saturn briefly last week, and it brought to my brain things I don't know, so I had to find out what these things are, how Saturn and the occult are related, and I just, clackety Saturn stuff, and then boom, Saturn stuff.
Because it's everywhere. It's a Saturn cult.
It's Saturn is you'll see the ring, even the tick on Nike shoes.
yeah.
That's
Google Chrome.
yeah. It's too much. It's everywhere. Yeah. So because they worship it, because it's maintaining the false reality that's here. If there was a way to break the ring, I wonder what would happen. If we could if we could unbind Saturn, or if it could heal itself, because at the moment it's not healed, it's sick, right?
Yes,
As a planet.
Yes.
If Saturn could heal, the Earth would heal.
And one of the symbols of Saturn is the cube.
Sure. Because of the hexagon on the top of it. Because the hexagon is
on top of the Saturn, on the north pole of Saturn.
Yes.
Okay, and the cube also symbolizes artificial intelligence.
Yes.
Because you have a binary system, so it's computerized.
Yes.
And you have 2 times 2 times 2.
Yes.
And the cube is to the third dimension.
Cubed. Right. Yeah.
So full disclosure, I am not very well versed in Max Spears. And it's nobody's fault but my own. And I am aware of some of his theories. I've seen some little bits and pieces of his interviews. I haven't watched all of them in their entirety. I know he's a brilliant man, and he left us way too soon in some unusual circumstances, which is terrible. But this is it's a little confusing because it doesn't connect all the dots yet. But the whole thing with Saturn and the rings, how there's the vehicles there, they're making them, right? They're making the rings. But why? Like we said on Wednesday, there was the vehicle and the ring wasn't all complete. But why? What's going on? Hopefully that'll be explained. Hang with me. We're going to learn stuff. Well, I'm learning stuff. I hope you are too. And if you're not learning stuff, I hope you're having a good time. And if you are, hit that like button and consider subscribing. All right, let's go.
So they have been using the sun, which is Helios, which is the real name for the sun. The sun, Helios, is the entrance point to get into this 3D realm here. So they're using that as a vortex in-out point.
Now that's the significance of the 39 steps. But also Saturn, I think you'd mentioned earlier that Saturn was our original sun.
Well, Saturn was the original sun, yes. Yeah. And Saturn, yes. And Saturn got pushed out. It was, in truth, a more efficient sun and a better sun. But then they caught that sun and imprisoned it. The ring around Saturn is an imprisonment. It's imprisoned. Saturn isn't bad. Saturn is another word for where they take Satan from, because it's the controlling force. It's Capricorn.
But is this related to the ring makers of Saturn?
Yes, and Lord of the Rings, and the principle is that. So the ring, one ring to rule them all, would be the ring that is around Saturn. So what you've got the Saturn as we have now, with the ring around it, projecting out a false reality pockets. False reality. It hits the moon, and the moon is working like an amplifier, which then creates and projects the false reality onto this planet. Right. So we're living an inverted reality here. It's not how it doesn't.
What do you mean by an inverted reality?
Well, an inverted reality in the sense that you succeed by doing bad. You succeed by screwing over your fellow man. If that's if you want to go along with that. I don't care if you succeed. I'd rather not succeed and be okay and take care of people I love. So whether or not success is not, I'm not interested in that. What I'm trying to do is change the frequency here so that ceases to exist anymore.
Okay, so I think I'm starting to get this. It's making a little more sense. So Saturn once was a sun, our sun, I'm assuming, and it was pushed out by the current sun, because that was good and this is evil, and it's the eternal battle of good and evil, right? So that is no longer being our sun, yet it has the rings, or the man-made rings around it, which project this backwards world on our world. Something like that, because we see every day we do bad things to each other in order to, succeed, which is terrible. So that is definitely a backwards thing. But I do understand why the occult and Saturn go hand in hand, because Saturn represents Satan. It represents the evil. So we have the good and the evil, and that's why the occult is all with Saturn. I think I did it. I still have some gaps in there, but I found another clip that kind of ties it all up in a neat little bow, and hopefully, that'll help if you're confused, which I am, and you may not be, but that's okay. We're gonna watch it.
There's something suspicious about Saturn. Max Spears asserted that Saturn was, quote, hijacked by parasitic entities, leading to the creation of its rings. He believes these entities transform Saturn from a life-giving force into a transmitter of low-frequency negative energy, which is then amplified by the moon to influence Earth. Spears mysteriously died not long after publicizing these findings. This all sounds weird until you read Ringmakers of Saturn by Norman Bergrun. In this book, Bergrun independently presents compelling evidence as well as tons of photographs of what appears to be enormous, tens of thousand kilometers long electromagnetic vehicles which maintain Saturn's rings. He argues that these vehicles are extremely complex and cannot possibly be naturally formed. He concludes that there must be some sort of extremely advanced intelligence that maintains Saturn's rings. Fascinatingly, in Jordan Maxwell's work, he independently presents even more compelling evidence of an ancient global religion on Earth that worshipped Saturn. He argues that this global religion became popular during a time where Saturn, not the sun, was actually the primary celestial body in the sky. Okay, but what if this is all a coincidence? Well, elite control and survivor Alondra Markman reveals that Saturn is heavily associated with, and that every country in the world literally has an off-world embassy on Saturn's rings where leaders go to perform rituals for. Is it possible that there's something up with Saturn and it has something to do with some ancient cult, which the elites still take part in, which links them to powerfully advanced parasitic entities who aim to maintain the 3D materialistic matrix on Earth?
I hear ya. Hey, Mrs. Collins, why didn't you just lead off with that? Well, because Max Spears had things to say, and I wanted to hear what Max Spears had to say and see if I can figure it out before I went and was like, oh, here's the answer. And apparently we have embassies. Well, all these other, foreign places have embassies on Saturn. And that's why the rings are there, to control us. Okay, I was off a little bit, but dang. That's absolutely fascinating.
China threatens to unleash $1.9 trillion tsunami and drown out tariff warfare. You know what that $1.9 trillion tsunami is, right? It's all of the mortgage-backed securities that China owns. They have $1.87 trillion in mortgage-backed securities. You know what happens when they dump those and offload those? The housing market drops and crashes like you would not believe. Rent and mortgages would be almost halved around the country. The ultra billionaires and multinational corporations that are listed on the NASDAQ stock exchanges, the soulless entities that are draining the middle class, yeah, they're gonna be hurt. China, go for it. Dump those mortgage-backed securities and allow the average American to buy a home and get a taste of the American dream once again. Yeah, go for it. I don't give a fuck.
I hope that's true. I mean, obviously, I don't know how that thing works, but if that is true and they go and dump it and housing prices go down, that would be great because I'm on the market and that would be fantastic. I'd love to be able to buy a house, like a good one.
I have a theory why the US government is doing exactly what they're doing right now and why a lot of countries are behaving the way that they are, and it's just a theory. I believe in many other theories as well. I told my neighbor about this one and she seemed very taken aback, and by the end she said, that does sound like it could be very likely. So I know I'm not the only one that has this kind of theory. My theory is that they're warming us up to the idea of a meteor hitting, right? It went from 1% to 2% odds recently that within the next 10 years, we will be hit by a meteor. Now, the reason I bring that up is because the behavior that I am identifying in the US government, with the current policies being made, the current policies being broken, it is clear to me that everybody making decisions knows something we don't. Or maybe they know something that we know, but they know about it to a greater extent. And I feel like they were made aware that there's some very large, catastrophic calamity that is unavoidable, that is going to happen in the next decade, because the decisions that they are making are very end of the world-esque, right? They're very, we have nothing to lose, we don't care what happens after 10 years, because that's the question, right? Everyone goes, what's the end game? What's the end game? What's going to happen after this? My theory, and this theory, is there really isn't an after for most people, and that they are aware of that, and these are decisions being made by billionaires and billionaires. Are they trying to, like, build a ship? I don't know.
I actually disagree. I think that the movements that are being made right now by our government are in an effort to advance the well-being of the people, like the majority of the people. Yeah, I understand Wall Street is like losing their brains right now, but they're not the majority of the people. They're like 1%, right? And everybody else is just kind of lying in their wake. But I think it's to improve the status of our country. And if they're trying to do things that in the long run will improve the country, I don't think they're preparing us for devastation. I think that there would be just sitting on their hands and going, well, what's the point? Let's just kind of let it happen. But I really don't think that we're going to get hit by an asteroid. And if we are, I mean, the billionaires actually already know it, because that's probably why they built all their bunkers. Not a ship. Just individual bunkers, because they all need their own thing. They're not going to share a ship.
Wait, somebody just said that people used to pay per minute they used to talk on the phone. Is that true?
I remember the days of paying for your minutes. You didn't just use your phone all willy-nilly. No, sir. We paid for our minutes, each and every one of them. $30 got you 300 minutes if you were lucky. That's only 10 a day. You learned real quick what to say, what was important and what could wait. No chit-chat, no small talk. You called, said what you had to say, and got off before it was too late, before it would cost you. And it would cost you dearly. But then came a miracle, and they called it unlimited nights and weekends. And boy, let me tell you what, when that clock hit 9 p.m. on a weekday, or even better yet on a Friday, oh, that's when the real conversation started. Folks planned their whole lives around it. You'd hear, I'll catch you after 9. I'll call you after 9. More than you heard, I love you. All business new and old happened after 9. We'd sit there in the dark, whispering on flip phones, making plans, catching up, falling in love. Weekends, that was a social hour, but weekdays before 9, silence. Phones stayed in our pockets like it owed us money. It was a different world, one where talk was precious and time was expensive. Makes you appreciate things, you know. Now folks talk all day, streaming, scrolling, don't even realize what a gift it is. But we remember. We remember the lonely days and when they turned into unlimited nights.
Oh, Lord. And don't even get me started on texting. When that became a thing, it cost between 10 and 20 cents per text. So if somebody was like, oh, I messed up, and they had to correct themselves, right? You do that and you put a little thing there because you corrected yourself. That's too much money. I don't need you to correct it. That's fine. I'll figure it out. But now you just text all willy-nilly. I mean, and we don't even use real words anymore. We don't even use real words anymore to text. Anyway, yeah, I remember those times. Let's finish our series that we've been watching.
Let's just say about the Eben that this was a biological entity that could go past the radiation belts and that could survive.
Made to travel in space.
Made to travel. These bodies were made to travel in space that were in this craft.
Yeah, they had two brains, not two hemispheres like we have. One brain is laced with integrated circuits to feed back the information. The other one lets them run as a ET or as a...
so they were part of the craft?
Yeah, they're part of the craft. That's where the head device came from.
So who made these? Us from the future?
Well, I'm not going to answer that at this time. We've talked about the future, what it is, and the way that I see it. Once you see it my way, you have information.
Do we become them, maybe?
No, I don't think so.
No.
is strictly a ET.
Well,
not just an extra large, but a IA.
Were they? We're saying they're from the future. Who's to say they wasn't from the past?
Well, of course, it's one and the same, as I told you. That's the way I see it. Icons. You send the ship back.
It's like something kind of, you see these drawings, and I don't know if I got this right, from like Atlantean kind of ideas.
Look at the picture up there. It's a whale.
Yeah.
Is it not a starfish?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No,
I mean no stingray.
But what I'm saying is, what if this was from Atlantis, sent from the past into the future? But then that would make no sense, would it?
Atlantis not the past.
No,
it's the future.
It's the future. Okay.
Yeah.
Just tell me about when your dad got this box of technology from the Roswell incident. I mean, he's talked about a filing cabinet.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Well, was it a filing cabinet, or was that just your dad's way of saying, as an analogy of what it was?
No, it was a file cabinet that was stored away and lost for years in the basement of the Pentagon. General Trudeau knew about it. And he says, I'm having it delivered to your office. He said, here's my dad's words. General Trudeau said, Colonel, now Freeman criticized my dad before he went into the R&D job because he had just come back from Germany as Inspector General over there and bringing the first nukes to the 552 Missile Battalion. And my dad was in a holding pattern because he was only in Annapolis there in the Guard, National Guard, and he was in a holding pattern until General Trudeau could bring him aboard. So when General Trudeau brought him aboard, he says, Corso, are you aboard? And my dad told me later that he knows what that meant. It meant this stuff. And they actually was in a file cabinet down in the basement, stored away, lost. Nothing done with it. And that's why my father says a lot of the technology that came from this is still down there or somewhere, not being used. But the Air Force may have it, my father said.
Do you think they still have the bodies? Because I heard that the bodies they disintegrated pretty badly.
Yeah.
But do you think they've still got them on ice in some form?
I don't know. I can only tell you about the Pentagon story that my father told me. There's a room that you go into like a jail cell. You take no computer, no writing, no anything to record with. Whatever's in your memory, you can come out and they will answer it. I see it as a alien, but it could be a computer. I don't know what it is. He never said. But he says he comes out of that room and all knowledge is there. It's like an oracle, I guess.
Which could have come from this craft or some other craft.
Yeah. Or from an entity. I don't know.
Did one of the
Why would it be a jail cell? Keep people from going in or coming out? I don't know.
So it's like that Area 51 underground bunker that David Adair was talking about in that previous story that we watched, that previous interview, where he was in the thing that had a big old wound in the side. It's living, it's alive. And then the creatures that went in there with the two parts of their brain that may be us, but they're not us, but they might be us, but they're not us, went in and then they like interfaced with it. Okay, so these are like correlating stories. That's absolutely incredible. That's the last part. And like I said earlier, I do have another series that we're going to watch starting on Friday because I won't be here on Wednesday. I am so sorry. I have things to do. On that note, I'm calling it today. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. Please, if you haven't already, hit that like button and consider subscribing. And come on back in a couple of days on Friday. So we're going to watch some new stuff. I'll say different things, and it's going to be fantastic. Until then, have a wonderful day.
Have y'all been to space?